Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to get into something pretty deep, a question that really gets to the bottom of why we do the things we do, why we believe what we believe, and what we're actually looking for in this life.
So let's just start with this. I want you to really think about it for a second. When you say you're looking for answers, or you're on a search for meaning or for the truth, what is it that you're really, truly searching for? Because the answer, well, it might just surprise you.
All right, so let's first look at how we normally go about this whole search for truth. See, we've all got this deep-seated urge to figure life out, right? To find the truth. But what if the way we're looking is the very thing that's keeping us from finding it?
Think of it like this. I could describe a beautiful mountain view to you with, perfect, vivid detail. But my words aren't the mountain, are they? They're just a description. To really know it, you have to actually be there. You have to breathe the air, feel the sun on your face. And the central idea here is that truth, it works the exact same way. It's something you have to live, not something you can learn from a description.
And this is where we really run into trouble. We spend so much of our lives just collecting descriptions. You know the drill. We read all the books, we listen to all the podcasts and gurus, we study these ancient philosophies, and from all that, we build this detailed picture in our minds of what truth is supposed to look like. And then what happens when a new idea comes our way? We don't really experience it fresh. Nope. We just hold it up against the picture we already have in our heads and see if it fits.
So this leads us to a really challenging thought. What if this entire process, this whole game of collecting pictures and descriptions, what if it's being guided by a totally flawed compass? What if the destination we think we're heading for isn't truth at all? What if it's something else entirely?
And boom, here's the heart of it. If what you're really looking for is just a new philosophy, a new teacher, a new system to give you a set of rules to live by, a new ideal to follow, then you're not actually searching for what's real. You're just shopping around for a better, more comfortable blueprint.
So, you've got this huge gap, right? On one hand, we tell ourselves we're on this noble quest for truth, with a capital T, for reality. But, if we're being brutally honest with ourselves, are we really looking for comfort from our pain? Are we looking for some kind of consolation for how hard life can be? Or maybe, just maybe, are we just looking for an escape?
It's kind of like this. When you get a headache, where do you go? You go to the drugstore to get something to make the pain go away, right? A palliative? Well, in the very same way, when we feel that emotional or psychological pain, we often reach for a spiritual or philosophical palliative to make us feel better. And the real danger is that we mistake this hunt for a painkiller for the search for truth.
So look, the most important thing here is to be absolutely, totally frank with yourself. And there's no judgment here, not at all. This is just about getting clear. Because as long as you're pretending to search for one thing while you're actually desperate for another, you're just stuck. You can't see the situation clearly, and you can't ever really be free. Okay, so if what we're really after is comfort, how does that actually play out? How does this search for a safety blanket end up trapping us? Well, as it turns out, we are fantastic architects of our own prisons.
It all boils down to this deep, nagging feeling that something is missing, that we aren't whole, that we're somehow incomplete. This feeling, right here, is the real root of all our suffering and all our searching. Now, where does this feeling of being incomplete come from? It comes from what the source material calls duality. It's the way our minds are constantly getting tangled up in opposites. We see everything in terms of good versus bad, success versus failure, what I want versus what I don't want. And this constant dividing of the world creates conflict, and it creates this feeling that we're always falling short of something. And you can see exactly how this feeling builds our prison, step by step. First, we feel that emptiness, that incompleteness. That feeling, of course, causes pain and suffering. So to escape the pain, what do? We invent an ideal, a perfect version of who we should be. That ideal then becomes our new boss, our new authority, our new inner judge. And just like that, boom, we're trapped by the very thing we made up to find comfort.
And it doesn't matter one bit if that authority is external, like a religion or a political party or some moral code, or if it's something we cook up inside, like my own personal spiritual path. At the end of the day, they're both created for the exact same reason, to help us escape that awful feeling of emptiness. They're just two sides of the same coin, and they are both an escape.
So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're following a rulebook someone else wrote 1,000 years ago or a rulebook you wrote for yourself this morning. Either way, you're living in a prison. You're living a life based on imitation, not a life of spontaneous, real, natural action.
Okay, so if searching for an ideal is a trap, then what in the world is the alternative?
Well, this last section points toward a totally different possibility, not a new answer to find, but a whole new way of seeing. So the life we've been talking about, the one lived under the thumb of some ideal, it's a life of pretending, isn't it? It's kind of hypocritical. We're never really present, because we're always busy measuring ourselves against some picture in our head. The alternative to that is a moment of total completeness, where there's no division, there's no ideal, and there's no measurement.
And this brings us to a really key distinction, the difference between choice and discernment. Choice, in this context, is born from conflict. It's that constant internal struggle of, should I do this or should I do that? But discernment, that's something else entirely. It's not a struggle, it's just clear seeing. It's that effortless, spontaneous understanding that just pops up when your mind isn't fragmented and at war with itself. And it doesn't require effort, it just requires awareness.
And this, right here, leads to what might be the most radical, most mind-bending idea in this entire explainer. The whole concept of striving for truth, of making an effort to get it, of trying to attain enlightenment, is actually part of the trap. That very effort comes from that feeling of being incomplete. So as long as you are trying to get somewhere, you're just reinforcing the walls of the prison.
Which leaves us with this one last thought to chew on. We spend so much energy searching and seeking and striving for an answer we can finally grab onto for comfort. But what if the real freedom, the real truth, isn't found in finding a shiny new answer, but in finally letting go of the search itself? What might you see, right here, right now, if you just stopped looking?